Hey guys, tonight we're diving straight into something that's probably haunted you more than your high school math teacher speaking English aloud when no one's there to correct you a broken bar or when everyone is. Picture this, you're standing in line for coffee, and the barista asks, "Would you like room for cream?" You freeze. Not because you don't understand, but because your brain just threw up a big flashing error 404. Response not found. You've probably been there. You know what you want to say, but when it's time to speak, your mouth mutinies, your heart races, your face gets hot, and your English just packs its bags and runs. Yep, that's not grammar failing you, it's fear. That mental block, is the very first thing we're going to smash tonight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop your city and local time in the comments. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Let's be brutally honest, a fear of speaking isn't irrational. It comes from a real place. You've probably been laughed at once or twice, or maybe just received that awkward pause after saying something wrong. And if you've never experienced that, congrats, you're either incredibly lucky or lying to yourself in two languages. But here's the truth, every fluent English speaker you admire has embarrassed themselves in some form. They've mixed up beach with another word, confused sheet with a broken bar, and asked waiters for chicken poop instead of chicken soup. That one's based on a real story. Don't ask. The fear, however, doesn't come from mistakes themselves. It comes from what you think those mistakes mean about you. You assume they make you look dumb, unprepared, or hopeless. But in reality, native speakers barely notice them, and when they do, they usually just think, "Wow, this person speaks more than one language." Impressive. Back in ancient Rome, orators would train by speaking aloud in empty theaters to overcome stage fright. That's right, even Julius Caesar probably practiced speeches to invisible people. Historians still argue whether his famous Veni, Vidi, Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered, was actually rehearsed to a wall. But what matters is speaking aloud builds not just language ability, but nerve. You start to feel less like a fraud and more like someone who belongs. Here's the deal, you don't need to sound perfect to be confident. Confidence comes before fluency, not after. It's not once I get fluent, then I'll speak confidently. It's more like, once I speak confidently, fluency will catch up. That's why tonight, we start with mindset. A fringe study once suggested that just smiling while speaking a foreign language makes people feel more fluent, even if their accuracy doesn't improve. Your brain responds not just to vocabulary and grammar, but to posture, attitude, and tone. So next time you feel that fear rising, try this simple trick. Take a breath, grin like you just got away with something, and say anything in English. Doesn't have to be smart, doesn't even have to be right. Just say it. One trick I often recommend is creating a comfort phrase, something short, simple, and easy that you can say anytime your brain blanks out. Something like "let me think for a second," or "that's a good question." These little lifeboats give you space to recover and keep control. You can even rehearse them in different tone, as excited, thoughtful, sarcastic, sleepy, whatever suits your mood. Because here's the truth, the people you think of as confident speakers, they're not perfect, they're just comfortable being imperfect in public. Let that sink in. Confidence isn't loudness, it's comfort in your own voice, no matter how weird it sounds today. Like the famous Egyptian Queen Cleopatra, who reportedly spoke at least 9 languages. Historians still argue whether her real strength was her charm or her polyglot skills. But either way, she didn't wait to feel ready. She spoke, and the world listened. So tonight, don't wait for the fear to vanish. Speak with it. Speak through it. Mumble in the mirror. Whisper in your bed. Narrate your cooking like a TV chef. And now, we're adding a little salt. Just like Julia Child, a broken bar but without the weird voice. Because when you learn to treat fear as background noise, you stop waiting for permission and start making progress. Let's get one thing straight, if you're still clutching that dusty English textbook like it's a survival manual, You might be missing the point. Learning English fast, especially on your own, doesn't mean you need to know every grammar rule ever invented. In fact, the sooner you ditch the textbooks, or at least stop treating them like sacred scrolls, the faster you'll start sounding like a real human being instead of a confused robot. Textbooks are great for exams, sure. They're structured, polite, and full of awkward conversations that no one has ever actually had in real life. Hello, how are you? I am fine, thank you. And you? Please. No one talks like that unless they're trying to sound like Siri's less fun cousin. What you really need are phrases as a living, breathing expressions that people actually use. Think about how toddlers learn. They don't start with grammar charts. They mimic what they hear. I want that, gimme juice, no nap. They learn in chunks, not word by word. And you should too. Here's the deal. Chunking learning phrases instead of individual words gives you confidence. It frees you from translating in your head and helps you speak naturally. You don't need to know why make a decision is right and do a decision sounds weird. You just memorize the phrase make a decision and boom, a native-like fluency without the grammar headache. Mainstream linguists have studied this for years. In fact, there's a term, formulaic language. These are ready-made expressions you can pull out instantly. Historians still argue whether Shakespeare invented over 1,700 new phrases or just cleverly remixed what people already said. Either way, he understood the power of rhythm, chunks, and flow. So where do you find these real-life phrases? Everywhere. Listen to interviews. Copy lines from sitcoms. Rewind that Netflix scene where the character says, "You gotta be kidding me," and say it aloud 5 times, then 10, then 20. If your cat doesn't judge you too harshly, start building a phrase bank. It's your personal treasure chest of survival English lines you can use at restaurants, during small talk, at airports, or even when pretending to understand office gossip. Write them down, speak them out loud, personalize them. If the phrase is "I'm not sure about that," change it up. "I'm not too sure, I'm not exactly sure, not really sure." See how it rolls? Now here's a quirky twist, language learning via memes. Yep, memes. Modern hieroglyphics. They're short, often grammatically wrong, and full of slang, but they pack a cultural punch. You learn how people actually express emotion, humor, sarcasm. Following meme pages or comment threads might teach you more about real English than another chapter on the present perfect. For example, "I can't even a broken bar is incomplete, but it says everything." Mood, same, dead. None of these are in textbooks, but they're part of how people talk. The more you absorb these, the more fluent you become, not just in words, but in tone and attitude. Ancient Chinese scholars used to memorize entire poems not for meaning, but for sound and rhythm. It trained their mouths and minds to move together. You can do the same. Grab a favorite phrase and say it in different emotional tones: sarcastic, tired, excited, fake happy, dramatic. You're not just practicing words, you're practicing delivery, which is 80% of sounding fluent. And no, this doesn't mean grammar is useless. Grammar is like the skeleton, but phrases are the muscles and skin and smirks that bring it to life. If you wait until your grammar is perfect, you'll be too old to use it. Speak now, tweak later. Some learners obsess over tiny grammar points. Should I say a university or an university? But native speakers break the rules all the time. Trust me. No one will care if you mess up an article. What they'll notice is whether you're frozen in silencia or speaking with flow and energy. So tonight, your mission is simple. Find 5 new phrases. Write them down, whisper them, shout them, dance with them if you must. Phrases are your secret weapon. And remember, the goal isn't to sound correct, it's to sound alive. You wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, and the first thing you think is well, probably coffee. But what if the second thing you think is in English? Because here's the sneaky truth. Your brain doesn't need a classroom to learn English. What it really needs is a mental immersion. You don't have to live in London or Los Angeles. You can turn your daily life into an English-speaking bubble just by changing the language of your thoughts. That's right, you're going to think in English. Not all the time, not perfectly, but in little stolen moments throughout your day, like when you're brushing your teeth, or waiting for your toast, or staring blankly at the fridge and wondering what adulthood is supposed to feel like. Start small. Look around your room and label what you see in your head: chair, desk, cup, socks, a broken bar. You describe what you're doing. I'm pouring water. I'm feeding the cat. I'm late again. You're not composing sonnets here, you're rewiring your brain. Historical fun fact: during World War II, some American spies were trained to think in German for days before missions, not to improve their grammar, but to make sure their reactions sounded natural. Historians still argue whether this technique helped more with fluency or with faking a believable accent, but either way, it worked. And you don't need to be a spy to steal the method. One quirky trick is to narrate your life like a documentary. Think David Attenborough meets sleepy inner monologue, and now, we witness the solitary human in its natural habitat, microwaving leftover pizza at 1 a.m. It's weird, it's wonderful, and it works. Another hack: set your phone and apps to English. At first, you'll fumble through the settings, but pretty soon, settings, notifications, and battery life will become just as familiar as rice, noodles. And why is this group chat still going? Here's a fringe twist for the brave. Start texting yourself in English. Open a notes app or message yourself on social media. Write what you're thinking, your plans, your grocery list, your revenge fantasy about the neighbor's leaf blower, all of it. This trains your inner voice to switch languages without pressure, and the key here is low stakes. Thinking in English means you get to practice without judgment. No one hears your grammar mistakes. No one gasps when you forget the word spatula and call it the flipping thing. It's private, messy, and real, just like language learning should be. One common mental block is, "But I don't know the word for that." Good. That's where growth begins. Try to describe it instead. Don't know the word for laundry basket? Say the thing where I put dirty clothes. That's still English. That's still communication. And often, it's what native speakers do when they forget words, too. Fluency isn't knowing every word, it's knowing how to keep talking anyway. Ancient Greek orators used to train by speaking in metaphor when they couldn't remember a specific term. One guy apparently described a ship's anchor as the iron foot that holds us still. A bit dramatic, but effective. Your version might be the thingy that sprays water in the sink. That's fine. That's survival English. Here's a game you can try tomorrow. Pick one activity, just one, like cooking, showering, or walking to work, and commit to thinking only in English while doing it. You'll catch yourself slipping back to your native language, and that's okay. Just gently bring it back. Over time, you'll notice that your first thoughts about simple tasks start coming out in English automatically. Oh, and remember that language has a rhythm. Thinking in English helps you absorb not just words, but that subtle beat behind them. The way certain words clump together, the pauses, the rise and fall. You'll start to feel it. And once you feel it, speaking becomes way easier. Also, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up for gaps. Your brain is doing something amazing, juggling two languages in the middle of everyday chaos. That deserves a slow clap. And if you're thinking, "This feels silly," remember, fluency isn't a straight path. It's more like a grocery store cart with one broken wheel. You'll veer, crash into some shelves, but eventually you'll make it to checkout. So tomorrow morning, before your first cup of coffee, try this. Think one complete sentence in English. Doesn't matter what, just start. You'll be shocked at how quickly your brain gets the hint. Let's talk about shadowing. Not the creepy lurking behind someone kinda, although that could be fun in the right Netflix series, but the kind of shadowing that turns you into a fluent English speaker without ever needing a grammar book or a tutor. Here's how it works. You pick a native speaker reel or record data and mimic them in real time, not after, not later. You speak with them, like a human parrot with ambition. It's half repetition, half performance art, and 100% effective. At first, it'll feel weird. You'll talk over someone, you'll stumble, you'll sound like a broken karaoke machine. But then something clicks. Your tongue starts moving faster. Your mouth learns how to shape sounds that used to feel like tongue twisters wrapped in hot glue. And without even realizing it, you start sounding fluent. The trick is to choose your shadows wisely. News anchors, actors, vloggers, podcasters, so they're all fair game. Pick voices you like. If you can't listen to them for 10 minutes without plotting their downfall, you've found a good fit. Bonus points if they speak clearly and naturally. Start small. Grab a YouTube video with subtitles. Play 10 seconds. Listen once, then replay and speak along with Ida exactly as they say it, matching speed, tone, pauses, even the weird little sounds. You're not just copying words, you're absorbing the rhythm of English. This method isn't new. In fact, it's ancient. Japanese samurai in the Edo period were trained to mimic the phrasing of poetry and sword chants to achieve perfect timing. Historians still argue whether this actually improved their language skills or just made them really dramatic sword fighters, but either way, repetition and rhythm mattered. Here's a modern twist. Use movies and shows. Ever wanted to sound like your favorite character? Now's your excuse. Pick a scene, watch it 5 times, shadow it 10. Bonus, you'll pick up emotional nuance, too. Sarcasm, anger, joy, it's all in there. Fringe fact, researchers once studied opera singers who learned Italian faster just by singing it. Something about the musicality made it stick. Shadowing works the same way. You internalize the flow by feeling it, not analyzing it, and you don't have to go full Shakespeare. Even 5 minutes a day can rewire your pronunciation and confidence. The more you do it, the less you'll need to think before speaking, because the words will already be sitting on the tip of your tongue, waiting to jump out. Now here's the fun part. Don't worry about understanding every word. Seriously, when kids learn a language, they mimic long before they understand. They say, "I want cookie," without knowing what want or cookie means in any deep way, but they say it with full conviction. You can too. Even better, record yourself while shadowing. Yes, you'll cringe. That's the point. You'll hear every weird pause, mispronounced syllable, and breathy wheeze, but you'll also hear progress, and after a week, you'll start sounding smoother. After a month, you might shock yourself. You can even play a game. Can I shadow this scene without tripping up? Treat it like karaoke for your mouth muscles. It's silly, but it works, and the sillier you make it, the more fun you'll have. Try shadowing a cartoon character or a dramatic soap opera star. The exaggeration forces your pronunciation muscles to stretch. And don't skip the emotion. If they sound mad, you sound mad. If they whisper, you whisper. You're not just mimicking English, you're learning how to perform it, because yes, speaking a new language is a little bit of acting. And you're the star of your own fluency show. Remember, fluency isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. And shadowing teaches you that better than any rulebook ever could. So tonight, pick a 5-minute video, grab your headphones, hit play, shadow it like a voice acting ninja, trip up, laugh, do it again, because somewhere in that messy imitation a broken bar is your real English voice waiting to be born. Alright, brace yourself because this one's going to sting a little. You're going to record your voice. Yes, your own voice, that sound you probably hate more than losing Wi-Fi. That awkward, nasal, do I really sound like that? Voice. But here's the kicker: recording yourself is one of the fastest, most painfully effective, and cheapest ways to get better at English speaking. No teacher required. Why? Because when you listen to yourself, you become your own coach. You notice what doesn't sound right. You hear where you mumble. You catch the R you forgot or the TH that came out more like a D. You become the mirror no one else can be for you. Let's not sugarcoat it. The first time will be awful. You'll squint at your own recording like it personally insulted you. You'll hear every awkward pause, every and think, wow, a broken bar, this is a crime. But then something magical happens, so you improve. Even ancient Greek philosophers knew this. Socrates reportedly said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Historians still argue whether he meant language learning too, but hey, it fits. Examining how you speak is uncomfortable, but it makes you grow. Start easy. Use your phone. Open the voice recorder app. Read a paragraph from a book out loud, or better yet, talk freely for 1 minute about your day. Just 1 minute. Say what you ate, what annoyed you, what you want to do tomorrow. No script, no pressure, then listen back. Not as yourself. Pretend you're judging someone else. Be kind, but honest. Okay, that sounded rushed. That word didn't land. That sentence, not bad, actually. Give yourself a mental note or two. Then record it again. Do this 3 times. By round 3, you'll already notice improvement. Now here's the quirky bit. Keep the cringy ones. Make a folder of before recordings. In 1 month, play them again and watch yourself cringe less. That's progress you can hear. Some learners start a secret podcast, not for an audience, just for themselves. They record short episodes in English, talking about anything, movie reviews, daily life, even imaginary interviews. It becomes a journal and a performance. It's fun, it's powerful, and nobody has to hear it but you. Voice journals are great because they help you practice thinking and speaking at the same time. That's one of the hardest parts of fluency, keeping your thoughts flowing while your mouth keeps up. Recording forces you to confront that disconnect. And no, you don't need to sound like a TED Talk speaker. Native English speakers mess up all the time. They mumble, they say like and 10 times in a row. Your goal isn't perfection, it's clarity, rhythm, and confidence. Here's a strange little historical nugget. President Lyndon B. Johnson used to record himself rehearsing conversations before speaking to reporters. Not speech essay conversations. Why? Because even powerful people want to sound natural. So go ahead and channel your inner president. Record, review, repeat. You can even take it a step further. Transcribe yourself. Record a 1-minute monologue. Then write down what you said, word for word. Look at it. Would you say the same thing if you had to write it again? Where did you ramble? Where were you clear? This double practice helps connect your spoken English with your written sense. And if you're feeling bold, share a clip with a friend. Ask for gentle feedback, or upload it anonymously to a language forum. There's something empowering about knowing that someone out there heard you speak a broken bar and the world didn't end. If you're thinking, but I'll sound stupid, let me say this. Everyone does at first. Even actors rehearse their lines dozens of times before filming. Your first tries are not supposed to sound polished, they're just supposed to exist. The voice you hate today is the same voice that will make you proud 6 months from now. So tonight, your challenge is simple. Hit record. Talk. Listen. Repeat. Don't chase perfection, chase improvement you can hear. And remember, nobody ever got fluent by staying silent. Okay. Don't laugh, but your new conversation partner might just be broken bar, a stuffed animal, or a pillow, or a chair with googly eyes on it. Whatever works, because tonight, we're going to explore the absurdly effective technique of simulated conversation, so talking to imaginary people, objects, or yes, your childhood teddy bear. Why? Because speaking English out loud even when there's no one to answer is still speaking practice. And it turns out, your couch is a pretty non-judgmental listener. Let's back up for a second. One of the biggest myths in language learning is that you need a partner to practice. Sure, conversation partners help. But what really builds fluency is producing language, not just listening to it. That means opening your mouth, forming thoughts, reacting, pausing, correcting a broken bar and doing it over and over. Enter the imaginary friend method. You pick a topic: ordering coffee, asking for directions, small talk with a coworker, and you simulate the entire conversation. Both sides. Yes, you play both roles. Think of it as acting, not just speaking. And don't worry, no one's watching, except maybe your cat, and they already think you're weird. Ancient Roman educators used a method called progymnasmata, a fancy word for rehearsing dialogues out loud to yourself before real ones. Historians still argue whether this technique made Roman lawyers better speakers or just great at arguing with their own furniture, but the idea stuck for centuries. Here's how to try it. Stand in front of a mirror, pretend someone asked you a question, say, "What do you do for work?" Now respond in English, out loud. Then pretend you're them. "Oh, that sounds interesting. What made you choose that field?" Now back to you. Keep it going. Keep it casual. Keep it messy. You'll fumble. You'll lose your train of thought. You'll suddenly realize you don't know how to say spreadsheet or nutritionist in English. That's great, because now you know what to look up. That's targeted learning, right there. A quirky variation. Assign personalities to your practice partners. Have a curious tourist, a rude customer, a friendly neighbor, a robot overlord. The more emotional variety you build, the more prepared you'll be in real conversations. You're not just practicing words, you're training your reaction time, tone, and confidence under pressure. Want to take it further? Record these skits, play them back. Yes, you'll sound like a one-person soap opera, but you'll also notice your intonation and coherence improving. That's the stuff no textbook can teach. Here's a fun twist. Use props. Want to simulate ordering at a cafe? Copyright. Grab a mug, set up a fake counter, and play both barista and customer. Hi, can I get a latte, please? Sure. Would you like sugar? Yes, 2 spoons, and a donut if you have one. That isn't judgmental. It's playful, yes, but behind the silliness, your brain is learning to respond in English without freezing. That's the gold. And if you ever feel ridiculous, remember this: actors rehearse in mirrors, singers practice facial expressions in bathrooms, public speakers deliver full speeches to plants. Fluency doesn't come from waiting, it comes from rehearsing. There's also something deeply freeing about being your own audience. No one corrects you, no one interrupts. You speak at your own pace, and you start learning what you sound like when you're actually relaxed. A fringe study from a language lab in Sweden showed that learners who practiced speaking to pets or imaginary characters had more natural flow in real conversations later. Why? Because they weren't focused on correctness, they were focused on speaking. Even monks in medieval monasteries practiced reading and speaking by whispering to themselves in Latin as they walked the halls. They didn't wait for company, they made language their constant background hum. So tonight, find your quiet corner, grab your imaginary friend, and have a chat. Doesn't matter if it's about the weather, your favorite meal, or your theory about why your socks keep disappearing. Just speak. And if you end up arguing with a stuffed animal about politics, congratulations, you're officially on your way to fluency. Let's face it, you already binge. Everyone does. Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, podcasts. A broken bar. We live in the era of infinite scrolling and just one more episode. But what if I told you that this guilty pleasure is actually your secret language teacher if you use it right? Tonight, we're not giving up binging. We're weaponizing it. Because consuming media in English is strategically, not passively, is one of the most powerful, immersive, and fun ways to turbocharge your speaking skills, without opening a single textbook. The key is learning to binge like a student, not a zombie. Step 1. Pick your poison. Want drama? Go for courtroom shows or reality TV. Need something lighter? Vloggers and sitcoms. Interested in aliens and government conspiracies? Documentaries. The genre doesn't matter. What matters is that it holds your attention long enough for the language to stick. Let's throw in a little history here. Back in the early 20th century, silent film actors had to express everything without words. When sound finally entered film, audiences were overwhelmed by rapid-fire English, and Hollywood accidentally became the world's English teacher. Historians still argue whether it helped or hurt non-native speakers, but millions learned expressions like "what's the big idea?" and "you gotta be kidding me" from black and white screens. Now, you've got an entire planet of English media in your pocket. The trick is to engage with it actively. That means watching with purpose. Not just to enjoy, but to mimic, shadow, repeat. Here's a strategy. Watch once for the story, no pressure, just vibes. Watch again with subtitles. Focus on phrases. Pause and repeat lines. Try matching tone and rhythm. Say it without looking. Make the line yours. This method is called deliberate imitation, and it works. Especially when paired with content you actually like. You're more likely to remember "I'm not buying it" from your favorite crime drama than "the cat is on the mat" from an English worksheet. Want a quirky twist? Try watching clips at 75% speed. It gives you a chance to hear every syllable and know, it doesn't make the actors sound like they're underwater. Most platforms let you do this now. It's like English training wheels. You can also turn binging into speaking practice. After watching a scene, pause and explain what just happened out loud. Okay, so she was mad because he forgot the date. and then the dog ate the cake. Doesn't matter if it's elegant, what matters is that you're producing English, not just absorbing it. And let's not forget about podcasts. They're like gym workouts for your ears. Choose ones with transcripts so you can follow along. Start with slow speed podcasts, then level up to native speed shows. Even better if it's a topic you already love, via true crime, pop culture, self-help, science fiction. Take your pick. One fringe tip: watch kids shows. Yep, cartoons. They're clear, repetitive, and full of basic yet natural conversation. Plus, no one gets mad if you accidentally copy Peppa Pig's accent. Okay, maybe your friends will, but they'll live. And if you're watching with subtitles, here's a challenge: switch them to English, too. No more subtitles in your native language. It's tempting, I know, but reading English while hearing it forces your brain to match sounds to words, which builds listening and speaking confidence fast. And yes, it's okay to rewatch the same episode a dozen times. In fact, repetition is your best friend. The more you hear a phrase, the more likely you'll be able to say it when you need it most. Even ancient scholars got this. In medieval Europe, monks would chant the same Latin verses over and over, and not because they loved Gregorian music, but because repetition etched the words into memory. Modern binging? Same principle, just with better outfits and more dragons. So tonight, don't feel guilty about hitting play again. Just be smart about it. Pick shows that speak the way you want to speak. Mimic characters you admire. Make every laugh, gasp, or plot twist another step toward fluency. And remember, every time you hit next episode, you're not wasting time, you're building your voice, one dramatic monologue or cheesy joke at a time. So you're watching your favorite English show, fully invested in the love triangle or alien invasion, and suddenly, a character says something like, "Don't push your luck," and your brain lie.